Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Lunsby Show with T-Bone and Chick Brew. I am T-Bone. Chick Brew will not be joining us today. No one will be joining us today. This is a special episode. And if you follow along, you may know why. I'm going to do my best here. And let me explain why Chick Brew isn't here and why I had to wait until I was alone before I could do this. I'm processing. Okay? The ability to tape this by myself will allow me to remove silences, will allow me to start over whenever I start to choke up. I am being clear. I'm doing this for me. And I need to keep that into perspective. I'm doing this episode for me. If you listen, I appreciate that. Of course I appreciate that. And if you get something out of this, that's cool too. I am trying to deal with loss. I'm trying to deal with grief. And that's why I decided to entitle this episode Grief. Because a week ago today, I lost my best friend. And I can tell you, if you are listening to this, you're going to appreciate me removing long periods of silence. A week ago today, Zeus earned his wings. A week ago today, Zeus earned his wings. And he absolutely deserved those wings. It's been said that God sends us angels disguised as dogs. And I believe that. I really do. I'm going to talk about grief and the levels of grief and what even is grief. Well, yeah, what is grief? Is it just sorrow? Is it pain? Is it sorrow combined with pain? Or is it just really, really painful sorrow? That's a good question for those people who like to study words, It's been a week, and I'm still doing the best I can do. And for the most part, I can disassociate with reality, the fact that he's not here anymore, but he's with me all the time, everywhere. It's amazing. Here in the studio, where he passed. Actually, I don't even know if I need to share this. I haven't been here since he passed. Well, not exactly true. I had to be here when they took him away. And I don't know the name of the business right now, but I can tell you they did a fantastic job. And I'll write them a review, and I'll tell you what an amazing job they did. And should you ever need your best friend taken away, assuming that they're a pet and not a human, please, I will give you a 1,000-star recommendation on this company. They did such an amazing job. And I only dealt with Patrick, but Patrick himself did such an amazing job. And he's in the right business, man. I got to tell you right now. If you are in a business and you are the best at being in a business, Patrick is definitely that guy. Anyway, we talk about, grief and the word. It's not pain, it's not sorrow, but it could be an intense combination of both pain and sorrow. And I've been very fortunate in my life that I haven't had to suffer a lot of grief. I've dealt with pain. I've dealt with sorrow. I've lost friends. I've lost a lot of friends. I've lost family. But I never lost an adult pet. And when I say adult pet, I mean a little background for those of you who don't know. I did a very long period. I did a very long period working for the United States Navy. And having a dog while you're an active duty member of the United States Navy, it's not really conducive. You got you got a lot of stuff to do, and the Navy expects a lot out of you, but, so does a dog. So I never got a dog. I couldn't get a dog. I had some cats along the way. Cats kind of manage themselves. Cats are cool. I get it. But a dog is a different investment. And I had dogs as a child. We had dogs. We had a lot of dogs. We had so many dogs that we stopped giving them actual names and just called them dog. Dog was their name. And we went through quite a few. But this is a different time. Number one, I'm a kid. So kids are very resilient, If you lose an animal when you're a child, you're very resilient to losing the animal. You had the animal, and then the animal's no longer there. If you're an adult, And I know people have suffered. I know other people have suffered grief, great grief at the loss of their pets, and I'm thinking about them as I say these words out loud right now. But Zeus was my first, okay? He may be my only. He may be my last. I I have to. Here's whether it's dealing with a family member or whether it's whatever kind of grief you may be suffering. The only thing I can say to you or to anyone that's suffering from grief is focus on the good. You know, you're going to have so many memories, and the level of memories I think really relates to the amount of time spent with one another and the love given with one another. And in very TK's unpopular opinion of the day kind of thing here is I think losing a dog is the most intense pain a person can feel. To clarify, if it's an inside dog. You know what I mean? Those people who can chain your dog to a tree outside, well, that's a different kind of person. A person who goes and gets a puppy and brings that puppy into the house and lives with that puppy every day and cuddles that puppy all the time and talks to that puppy like it's a human, you're going to know that puppy from the day it's born until the day it dies. And there's a love exchange between human and dog that is like any other love. It's unconditional. You can have a wife, but that's conditional. You can have children, but that is conditional. And you can have parents, and that's conditional. That's conditional love. I love you because you do this for me. That's conditional love. But a dog's love is unconditional. They're happy to see you every time they see you. Again, and I'm not going to clarify this anymore, but I'm talking about an inside dog. And you people who keep your dogs outside, you're animals. I hate you. I don't hate you. I'm just saying we're different. We're different people. If you lose a friend, that sucks. If you lose a parent, that sucks. If you lose a sibling, that sucks. If you lose a child, that sucks. I think the only thing that can compare, and again, it may be an unpopular opinion, but I'm saying what I'm saying. I think the only thing that can compare to losing a dog is to lose a child that's still at home. You grow apart from your friends. You grow apart from your parents. Your children grow apart from you. The pain isn't as intense when there's been separation. And again, I mentioned earlier, I've been very fortunate that I haven't suffered a lot of grief in my life, but I have suffered grief. I've lost friends. You know, as a military man, that's going to happen. I've delivered grief as a police officer, as a CACO, also as a CACO, a Casualty Assistance Calls Officer. I've had to deliver the news that caused intense grief in other people. But on a scale of all the griefs that are possible, I just contend, my thoughts, my opinion, I could be wrong, that losing a dog is the most intense pain you will ever feel. And it has been for me. Losing my friends sucked. Friends, plural. I've lost many over the years. Luckily, to date, I've only lost one parent, and that sucked. And I think I handled it really well. I locked myself in my room, and I got it out of my system, and then I did this thing that I think everyone who deals with grief has to do, is they have to focus on the good, because it'll kill you if you don't. Literally kill you. And I'm sharing something with you right now that I've only shared with one other person. The pain I felt was so intense that suicide was an option. Suicide is always an option. Of course, it's the wrong option. Don't kill yourselves. You've heard me say that year after year after year. I've always preached, don't kill yourself, okay? Suicide is a temporary solution to a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Please don't kill yourself. But as someone who's been doing suicide prevention for years, has been teaching suicide prevention and suicide awareness training, the fact is we all think about it. It doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you evil. It doesn't mean you need hospitalization. It's just, you can't control where your brain goes. And I clearly could not control where my brain went. And that put a whole bunch of concern into my wife's brain, which was an unintended consequence. I clearly didn't want to do that. I hurt so bad that the thought crossed my brain that I could make all the pain stop. But that would only create more pain for a person that I love, and I wouldn't do that. I get it. The dead don't care what people think about them. I get that. But for some reason, the thought of me being such a hypocrite after preaching don't kill yourself for years and years and years and then doing it was just something that stuck in my brain like, no, you can't. You can't be the guy who for years and years and years said, don't kill yourself, and then does. And my own words repeated through my brain, even though I was feeling so much pain. My own words of suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem, and no matter what the problem is, you'll get over it, rang true. And I know it to be true, but I'm going to tell you, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. I see him everywhere. Anyone who's listened to the show over the years or watched any of the associated products with the Lunsby show, whether it be the supplement or the Warno, they know Zeus. Because Zeus is always there. Zeus comes in when we're taping the Lunsby show. Zeus comes in when I'm taping the supplemental. He walks around when I'm doing the Warno. He was always present because I am his human and he is my buddy, and we were bonded together. We were always there together. I had to take a little break there, obviously. And again, if you're listening to this, you're hearing absolute raw emotion. But it's raw emotion that's been tampered down for like a week. I've had a week to deal with it. But today I received his urn. Not him in his urn, just the urn that we're going to have him in. And I broke down. Today I went to the adult arcade, and then I had to put something in the rear of the caddy. And when I went to put it in the rear of the caddy, where I normally put Zeus, I broke down. It still hurts. But the reason I decided that I needed to do this, and I decided this days ago, I thought this would be very cathartic for me. And again, this episode is for nobody but me. This is for me, to get it off my chest, to just get it out there into the ether. But if you are listening and you can get something from this, or something here that I say sticks with you in the future when you're dealing with this, well, that's a bonus, okay? Right now, I'm just doing it for me. And one of the things I really wanted to do is I wanted to take you back to the beginning. I wanted to share, because, again, focus on the good, right? You got to focus on the good. And I want to focus on the good. And there's plenty of sadness to go around, but I want to focus on the good. And focusing on the good means, for those of you who don't know, I want to take you back in time. I want to take you back a very far back in time. The award-winning director Robert Zemeckis, he made a little movie called Forrest Gump. And I didn't turn off the fucking AC. And I don't have my phone with me, so I can't turn off the AC. The award-winning director, Robert Zemeckis, he made a little movie that you may have heard of. He's made several movies, but one in particular that you may have heard of was Forrest Gump. And I was privileged to be in the movie Forrest Gump. I'm a background actor in several scenes. One of the scenes in particular that's come to mind right now is when Forrest was going through boot camp. You know, we had a lot of downtime and in-between time, and when we were doing the boot camp scenes, I actually got to meet Robert Zemeckis when we weren't working. We were on a break, and he was out walking his dog. And it is a dog I had never seen before. It was probably the largest. This is 1993-ish? 93, 94, somewhere in that area. I had never seen this particular dog before, but my God, was he beautiful. He was just so strong. He was so strong and he was so beautiful, and he had a head, man, the size of a like two watermelons punched into it. It was a giant dog. And I struck up conversation with him about his dog, and I said, "Excuse me, sir, I've never seen a dog like this before. What is this?" And he goes, "This is a Rhodesian Ridgeback." I was like, "That's cool. I didn't think Rhodesia existed anymore." He goes, "It doesn't, but the breed does." And he said when Rhodesia was a country, they mixed these dogs to make them the fiercest, most loyal dogs to fight lions, to keep the lions at bay when you're living in Rhodesia. And I was like, "That's amazing. That's a beautiful dog. I want a dog like that. How much does a dog like this cost?" Award-winning director Mr. Robert Zemeckis, and he said about $5,000, which I don't know if you know me, but at that time that was clearly out of my price range. I could not. I was like, well, I guess a boy can dream, or something stupid I would have said. Robert Zemeckis' Rhodesian Ridgeback on the set of Forrest Gump was the dog that I was going to get. If I was ever getting a dog, I was getting a Rhodesian Ridgeback because of my interactions with that dog. And I didn't think much about it at the time, but I knew throughout the rest of my adult life that that's the dog I'm getting. If I'm getting a dog, that's the dog I'm getting. But the timing was never right. I was always on deployment. I was always away. I couldn't invest in a dog. So the entire time I was in active duty, 26 years of my adult life, I couldn't get a dog. I couldn't because the Navy came first. Quick side note, wrong. The Navy can be a very important part, or the military, let's just say the military can be a very important part of your life, but it should never come first. It should be an important part of your life, but if you're putting it first, you're neglecting all the other things that are really, really important in life. So I go through life, I retire from the Navy, I take on another job. Somewhere in that time frame, I've met an incredible woman. She treats me nice, and I think she's amazing and beautiful and attractive. So I do what you should do if you find yourself in that situation. I proposed marriage to her, and I married her. Well, I hypnotized her first to convince her that marrying me was a good idea, but eventually the natural progression of a wonderful relationship comes to be, and I was lucky enough for her to marry me. We're both working together. We're both living in Spain. We're both active duty Navy at the time. I retire. I become a civilian worker for the Navy, and then she retires, and she doesn't have a job. She was just going to be a trophy wife, by the way, a perfect candidate for a trophy wife. She would have been fine at that. But being who she is, she couldn't accept the fact that work is kind of something that we do. You know, you go to work, you come home. That's what you do. So she was getting bored at home, and she started talking about, let's get a dog. Let's get a dog. And I kept saying no. As a matter of fact, not only did I say no, I provided an alternative, let's have a baby. And she's like, no, let's get a dog. And I would respond with, let's have a baby. And she would like, no. You get that, right? She didn't want to have my babies, but she wanted a dog. But she was insistent upon it. She would say it all the time. She wore me down. She drove me nuts. And then one day on the infamous Rota Q&A page, there was somebody giving away a dog. And the dog that they were giving away was a black Labrador. The dog they were giving away with all the accoutrements. They were giving away the kennels and the passport and the papers and the food and the bedding. They were giving it all away. And the dog's name was Raven, because it was black, get it? Well, coincidentally, my wife's previous dog was a black lab also, with the name Raven. And she presents all this information to me, and she says, can I get this dog? And I am just so sick of arguing with her about how children would be better than a dog. At least, you know. Anyway, so she wore me down, and I said, just get the dog. Just get the dog. I don't want the dog, but you want the dog? Go get the dog. And she does. She has an interview. She meets the dog, the black Labrador named Raven, who has absolutely no home training whatsoever. The black dog named Raven that was free for adoption with all the accoutrements had not been trained on doing basically anything. And the interaction between the two of them did not go well. He scratched her up. Oh, I was so mad at this dog I didn't know named Raven because he scratched up my wife. He made her skin all abrased. So she came back and she explained the interaction with me and how it just wasn't a good fit. The dog wasn't trained, and as much as she wanted a dog, she realized, because she's a smart lady, that this was going to be an issue. So she even though she wanted a dog and had been talking about getting a dog for a year, she made the smart decision and said no thank you, no thank you. And then she came back home and she tells me all of this, and then she says, "Were you really gonna let me get that dog?" And I said, "Yeah, of course. I want you to be happy because I love you." There's a footnote here, a real quick footnote about how one of my protests in getting the dog was the fact that it was the beginning of the end of our marriage. If we get a dog, you're going to love the dog more than you're going to love me, and then when the dog eventually leaves, you're not going to want to be around me anymore. And I really hope that part isn't prophetic. I really hope that part isn't true. But she said, "Were you really going to let me get the dog?" And I said, "Look, it's not that I'm really opposed to a dog, but if I'm going to get a dog, I'd really like to get the dog that I want." She goes, "What's that?" I was like, "A Rhodesian Ridgeback. I want a Rhodesian Ridgeback. That's all I've ever wanted when it comes to a dog." And she goes, "Well, find one." Challenge accepted. I go on Mila Anuncios, which is the Spanish version of Craigslist with less sex. That was for fun. I go on Mila Anuncios, and it's unbelievable how, even though my Spanish is not bueno, I was able to find somewhat neighboring pueblo or hamlet in Malaga, Spain. There was a family that was offering up Rhodesian Ridgeback puppies that was a really new litter. The father was a champion. Arthur, of course. Arthur was from Gibraltar, where the British live, and the British naming a large Rhodesian Ridgeback Arthur, I guess, makes sense. He was an award winner himself. He was registered, and he was a show dog, and he was quite beautiful. His mama, Luna, lived with the British and Spanish family in Malaga that we went to meet like the next week. I found on Mila Anuncios, I found a litter of Rhodesian Ridgebacks waiting to be given away or sold to the highest bidder. And I told her, and we made plans, and we went out to visit them the next week. Luna, the mama, Archie, Archie was the dad. When we get there, we are the first, man. We are the first. No one else has come to pick up a Rhodesian Ridgeback puppy yet, and there's 9 of them. And they're so adorable. They're so bloody adorable. I don't know why I use bloody there. I'm not British. They're just puppies, man. There's so many puppies, and it's a good mix. It's like, 4 males and 5 females, and that's what we got to choose from. And they're just roaming around a backyard in Spanish, in a Spanish Malaga home. They're just roaming around, and now we have to choose one. And you don't just go in and just grab a puppy and like, "This one's mine," and abscond with the puppy. You go in, and the family was super cordial, and they spoke English, and they were really concerned about Trump and Clinton. It's so stupid that they would, but the small British children were asking me these things. It's the silliest things that you remember. So we're meeting the kids. We're meeting all the kids. And several of them did not have what you would call a perfect ridge. They had something called a palm ridge. So a Rhodesian Ridgeback has a line of hair that goes down its spine that grows in the opposite direction. It's really cool. it looks like the dog has a mohawk. And it's very confusing to people who don't know the breed. They're always asking, why did you cut his hair like that? What kind of surgery did he have? No, no, no. This is how they were bred. But a palm fan is a perfect ridge, but down near the buttocks area, it's all jacked up. It's all jacked up. It is not breed standard by any means. And it's not like but I don't know anything. Here's what I know. Going into these 9 puppies, here's what Tony knows. Number 1, I want a male. Why? I was going to say some really crass words. I'm not going to say that, but I already have one woman in my life, okay? But I want a male. I also don't want to deal with the heat and the blood. I don't want to deal with that, okay? So I want a male. I didn't really know about the defected ridges until I saw this litter. I'd never seen that before, but instantly I knew I didn't want any of them with a deformed ridge. What are you, crazy? I get to choose the pup I want. I get first dibs, and I'm going to choose one with a jacked up ridge? Not happening. Not happening. But we hang out with the puppies, and there's two males that are in the running, and the 2 males are appropriately one. I don't know what they called him. I don't know what they called the puppy that we eventually chose. But the other puppy, his competition, was named Blue. Now, Blue was appropriately named because, and strangely enough, he wasn't wearing a blue collar. They identify all of them early on in the puppy stage with different color collars. Blue did not have a blue collar, but Blue had amazing blue eyes. Zeus's brother Blue had blue eyes. And if you remember years ago, the guy that got arrested and they took his mugshot and all the women were fawning over him because even though he was a criminal, he had stunning blue eyes on a dark complexion, and the ladies fawned over this criminal. That's what they did. So we had Blue, and we had this other puppy who, didn't really have a name, or did have a name that I don't recall, but I nicknamed him during the screening process. I nicknamed him Antisocial. Because where all the other puppies, to include Blue, were all up mommy's, they were all up mommy, right? They were all around each other, and they were all around mommy. But Antisocial, he was just over there minding his own business. He didn't need all that. That's my kind of guy. I like an antisocial kind of guy. He's over there. He's minding his business. So it's down. It's down between Blue and Antisocial. And Antisocial is a puppy. They're both, obviously they're from the same litter. They're both just puppies. I try to play ball with both of them. I'm not making a decision one way or the other, but Antisocial is already winning because he's independent. He doesn't need to be with the rest of the pack. He can just be by himself. So I'm already leaning towards Antisocial. But when it comes time to play ball, Antisocial plays ball. Not well. He's a puppy. He doesn't know what he's doing, but he's trying. Blue won't play ball at all. Won't even an N-word that I'm thinking of that I can't remember. Nub? Not a nub. Maybe it's not an N-word. He won't do anything with the ball. Blue won't do anything with the ball. Antisocial at least plays with the ball as best as he can as a puppy who's only been on the planet. His only, cognitive abilities are like a few weeks old. And that turned out to be the deciding factor. That, and I know Blue is going to be a criminal. I know Blue's going to be a criminal because he's good looking and he's got blue eyes and the ladies are going to love him and he's got the blue eyes and Blue is a mugshot, whereas Antisocial doesn't need nobody but himself. That's my kind of guy. And he plays a little ball with him. So we make the decision. And I don't know, I felt a certain kind of way about it. I knew he was the right choice. I knew that if we didn't take him away from his family, I kind of felt bad about taking him away from his family. Taking him away from his mommy. I felt bad about that. But I also knew that someone was going to do it. And I promised at that moment I was going to give this dog the best life ever. And I don't know what the scale is in the dog world about having a best life. But I did everything I could to spoil that little boy rotten. We had so much fun together. And we'll talk about it. Just let me recover for a second. So we throw him in the Volvo because it's the safest vehicle you can imagine. And we drive him back to our hamlet, the little town of Rota, Spain. And it was his first time in a car. You know, a lot of firsts here. And he's got a new family. And we've got a setup for him. We've got a cage for him. Not that I wanted him to be caged, but we had. You know, we both worked. Oh yeah, that's right. I think she was working, or maybe she wasn't working at the time. It doesn't matter. I think she's still off for a period, but you know, it's a puppy, so you want to take some precautions. And one of the precautions was having a safe place for him to live that allowed us to relax and know that he's not going to tear the place apart. Because I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but strangely enough, Rhodesians can be destructive if they're not given a way to exert all of the energy that they have stored up inside them. So we got him all set up, and we bring him home, and I can't remember. I just remember that first night, that first day. We've done all that. Malaga's a couple-hour drive away. We spend a couple hours with the family. We drive back a couple of hours. We get there, and we get him out of the cage that we transported him in, and him and my wife just run back and forth on the patio. I have that video, and it means a lot to me. It really does. Because as a puppy, it took him like 20 steps, like 20 little puppy steps to get from one side of the patio to the other. And then we recreated that video years later. And it was like it's like just 2 giant steps, whereas tiny little puppy needed 10 times the amount to get from one space to the other. But we get him out, you know, we clean him up a little bit because he was car sick, and Mommy and Zeus run back and forth, and it was funny. And then we bring him into the house, and it's a Spanish house, so there's really very little carpet. It's all marble and tile, and we got his little area set up for him, and I introduced him to his area. And we've got a nice little bed for him, and me and him are laying together on the bed, and I just remember putting my hand up to his puppy paw. His puppy paw is the size of my hand, just the paw. Not, you know, crooked as a dog bone. What do they say? You know, dog bones are crooked, man. And that last little thing that is the dog's leg was the size of my hand. And I remember saying, and a lot of people made comments as we posted pictures of him throughout the years, he's going to be a big boy. And you weren't wrong. He was a big boy, and he was a strong boy, and he was such a good boy. But that's how we got him. That's, you know, from Robert Zemeckis on the set of Forrest Gump all the way to bringing him home to our house in Rota. And we had great times in Rota. We had a giant dog park right next to the house. And when I say next to the house, it was not sniffing distance away, but close enough. And every day, you know, we would go out, and I would. It started with walks, and then we progressed from walking because he's a big boy and he was a growing boy and he needed the energy. I came up with a rig that I think I bought on Amazon that was a pole that hung off of the bicycle, and we would run, and I would ride the bicycle and he would run alongside me, and we did that everywhere. And he was so strong. Like one time, I think the top speed he had me up to was like 34 miles an hour. Like him just pulling my fat booty around the park, and, you know, we were going. We were flying, and we went everywhere. We went all throughout Rota. Me and him on the bike, and we had accidents, and we had mishaps, and we would go to the dog park, and he would meet all the other dogs, and he had so many friends there at the Laguna de Parca de Laguna dog park in Rota, Spain. Czar was a greyhound that he loved to chase. We met other Ridgebacks while we were there. People were really receptive to see a Ridgeback. He was the star, man. He was a star, okay? And this is all about just giving him the best life that I could give him. And right now, as I smile, and you can hear it in my voice as I talk about the good thoughts, the good feelings, all of the good things this dog gave me in his entire lifetime, you see I'm happy, right? I'm happy to talk about my dog. But it's difficult to talk about my dog knowing that he's not with me anymore. You have to focus on good memories. You have to do that. I broke down yesterday. A wonderful Marine Corps officer. I have so much respect for him. He has engaged me in conversations in the past, and we were talking, and he said, "Oh, hey, Tony, by the way, how's Zeus doing?" To which I had to respond, Zeus passed away on Saturday. And he was apologetic, overly apologetic, because he didn't know. He didn't know. He couldn't have known. But he said, "I'm sorry to hear that." And that was the end of our conversation, because it's work. You can't be emotional at work, right? People start to worry when they see grown men crying at work. It's never a good thing. But the colonel asked me, and I responded, and he said, "I'm sorry," and he went away. And that should have been the end of it. But what I didn't know is that the colonel himself was still dealing with his grief. Because 2 years prior, he lost his dog, Jackson. And the colonel said exactly what I know. It still hurts every day, but it gets better with time. And I haven't been on social media a lot since this happened. I want to. I mean, I'm reading things, I'm doom scrolling, whatever, and I've got smarty comments I want to make, but I'm not making them. I'm just thinking them. So where are we at? We're again reinforcing the message that grief sucks. Oh, I'm not on social media a lot. But I'm still doom scrolling, and I'm still seeing things, and I'm still trying to wish people, happy birthday. I've got a great little meme that I send out, and I wish them happy birthday. And my friend JJ, I go to send him a happy birthday meme, and I see that the last time that we've actually communicated with one another was when his father passed. And I've only done this with very few people, and it was specifically after my dad passed and my friends were starting to lose their dads, that I would send them a message. And again, very few people receive this message from me, but basically it is, I feel your, I got to do it in Clinton's voice. I have to do it in Clinton's voice. I feel your pain. Because I knew what they were going through. When you lose your dad, I know what you're going through. But having lost my dad a couple of years ago, I also know what's next. And what's next is it's going to get better. Grief, pain, sorrow, whatever you call it, all of it gets better with time, but it takes time. And I say, and you hear me breaking up, and I cut away, and you don't hear my breakdowns while I do this, but it will get better. It will get better with time. It will be easier, but it's still fresh. And it hurts as much as it should hurt. And when I talk about why it hurts so much and why losing a dog is, I think, the worst pain you can feel, if it's an inside dog and you've raised that dog from a puppy, I think that's the worst pain you can feel, is because that every day of your life you come home and that dog gives you love. And that dog is part of your routine. And every part of the routine that's not there anymore messes with your head. It's Saturday morning. We should be going to the base. We should be playing on the softball fields. We should be doing these things. But we're not. And that hurts. And it hurts because it's a week old and it's still fresh. I got his urn today. That broke me down. I know, I've said these things before. But what I'm saying is, as the memories are fresh, they're going to hurt the most. But I also want you to consider this fact that if you didn't love your dog and your dog didn't love you in return, you would not be feeling these emotions. I spoiled my dog as much as you could imagine. I spoiled my kids. That didn't work out so well, I don't think, to the best that it could have. There's an outcome that you did want, and there's an outcome that you got. I'm happy with the outcome I got, however it worked out. But I think it could have been better, and the same goes for your dog. It's unconditional love, and I paid that back. The problem with chopping up this episode is there are moments where I am overly emotional, and I don't want to share that with you. You know it's happening. And that's all you need to know. But if I lose it, you want to lose it. I cut that out. And it's distracting because it's hard to get back to where you were. It's like Jack Nicholson in The Shining. Every time you come in here, you're disrupting me. You're distracting me. You're breaking my concentration. And it will then take me time to get back to where I was. Understand? Well, that's what I'm going through right now. I have a train of thought. I have an outline. I no kidding wrote an outline for how I wanted to do this. And I'm going to share some of that outline with you now so you can see that I'm not making this up. This is a special episode with just me and not Chick Brew. And if I didn't explain why earlier, I'm going to explain it why right now. Chick Brew also loves Zeus. Zeus and Rupert and the other one whose name I can never remember. They used to play at the dog park together. Zeus was always with me. So that's why I didn't have her on today, because I didn't need additional choking up that would be harder to edit out. I had to wait for my wife to leave the house because she loves to listen to me, even though she pretends she doesn't listen to me. And she would be sitting on the stairs right now, and she would be crying uncontrollably, and that would break me out. And you can't get anything done when people are around you crying. You can't get anything done when you're crying yourself. Into my outline, it was about what is grief, and we covered that. And how do we handle it? And that's the thing that I think I've did a good job of expressing to anyone. If you're listening to the Lunsby Show with T-Bone and Chick Brew, but it's only T-Bone, and the episode title is called Grief, and I am sharing with you my deepest pain, but I'm also sharing with you the fact that it's okay. It's okay to feel. It's okay to embrace the pain. And I do. You know, I am here in the studio where he passed, and I am looking at one of his favorite donuts. A donut is a big circular dog bed that kind of encapsulates them. This one was his first one that we got him in Spain. It's like $100. I can't believe how much money I've spent on dog beds over the years. But it's a big old dog bed. And down here in the studio, which is the quietest part of the house, especially if there's weather, you know, he didn't like thunder and lightning. Very, very frightening indeed. Galileo, Galileo! Anyway, in the most soundproof part of the house, I had that pillow for him. On his final night, he ended up on that pillow, but it's in a very weird place for me and his mom to hang out with him. So I brought the pillow out here into the studio, and then he came out into the studio, and that's where we spent our final time together. In the outline that I have in front of me, I wanted to talk to you about the beginning, but not the beginning. The beginning, and I did that. I take you all the way back to the early 90s when I was first introduced to the breed. And then I wanted to talk to you about the actual beginning where this puppy came into my life and made everything better. It's not that I believe in ghosts, but I kind of want to believe in ghosts, only because I want to communicate. And the people making the Ghost TV show, if you ever get a chance, someone sends this to you, if you ever hear this, you ever listen, do us a favor, do us all a favor, all of us dog lovers that have all watched our dogs cross the Rainbow Bridge, which, by the way, the dumbest damn thing I've ever heard. What is the rainbow? Who came up with the idea of a rainbow bridge? It's a rainbow. It's already a bridge. It's a bridge you can't walk on because it's a rainbow. It's a spectrum of light. I haven't used the Rainbow Bridge reference. I've said he earned his wings. He always had his wings. I just couldn't see him. I spent a lot of time talking about the beginning, but in my outline here, I also mentioned the great times. And there are very few. Zeus bit me, and it wasn't his fault. He didn't mean to bite me. 2 dogs, a family of dogs. They weren't the same breed, but they were raised by the same parents. They took umbrage with Sir Zeus, and they attacked him, and he defended himself. But it's at a dog park, and I can't let him do this on his own. So I'm kicking the snot out of these dogs, trying to get them away from my dog. And one of them grabs him, and I grab him. All right, one of the little white, they're 2 white dogs. So racist. These 2 dogs attack my dog, the brown dog. What the hell? They attack my dog, and they're much smaller. They're not much smaller. One is a medium-sized dog, and the other is a smaller dog. But together, the 2 of them attack my dog. And my dog, honestly, if I had just let him defend himself, he would have done just fine. But I'm not there to let him defend for himself. I'm there to help him. So when they came at him, he went at them, and I went at them. I'm kicking them. I'm punching them. I'm doing everything I can to get these 2 little monsters off my dog. And the little one jumped up, and I grabbed the little one. And then Zeus went to deliver a very decisive snap at the little one, except he caught me right in the hand. That's the only thing he ever did to me. He bit me. Well, that's not the only thing he ever did. So again, I told you earlier about the bike contraption, right? I've got a bike set up where he can run alongside me. I've trained him to run alongside me and pull me, and we have fantastic times, and we do this all the time. And because I don't want him to get bored, I take him different places and give him fresh sniffs. I take him to extra areas. And we went all the way down to Punta Candor there in Rota, Spain. Along the beach, but way, way out there. We come off of the road surface and we're going to go down on the beach. I'm going to ride in the hard pack and we're just going to have a good time. He loved the beach. I'll tell you about that in a second. I'll make a note here, tell you about Zeus's affinity to water. So we're going down to the beach. We're not there yet. Our elevation is a little too high. And there is a walkway, a plank, if you will, that someone has set up where you can get from the high end of the beach down to the sandy end of the beach. I don't know what I was thinking, man. I thought we could have pulled this off. We were just going to go side by side together down this plank that was wide enough for the both of us. But there was very little room for error, man. And errors were made. And I go ass over elbows, man. I fall probably 6 feet, me, dog, bike, off the ramp into the rocky sands. And it hurt. I'm not going to lie, it hurt. But I recovered. We got on the bike and we finished the ride. And we're several miles away from the house. But I'm hurting. I'm hurting. But he's a champ. So along the beach we go, not very long. As soon as there's a smooth way to get back up onto the street surface, I get back on the street surface because if I didn't tell you, I'm hurting. I fell. I'm hurting. And we cruise on back to the house, and I get to the house. I don't have my keys. My keys are nowhere to be found. And I ring the buzzer. The wife answers the door. What's going on? I was like, I lost my keys. What? I get the third degree. I tell her the story. I leave Zeus with her, and then I retrace our steps. I kind of had a feeling that they probably got lost where we crashed. So I go back to where we crashed, and I'm searching and searching and searching, and I can't find my keys anywhere. And my keys, they're Spanish keys, so they're 6 feet long. They should be easy to find. And in the distance, there's a couple of Spanish fishermen over there that flagged me down, and I go over to them, and sure enough, they had found my keys, and they took my keys, and I guess they knew I would be back. So they gave me back my keys. And so he didn't hurt me very much. I didn't hurt him too much. I would like to think I didn't hurt him too much because he was a good boy. Early on, I might have, I'm a new dog dad. I don't know everything. I might have made some mistakes in overcorrecting him. And he forgave me because he's awesome. We went through a series of collars. We wanted to train him so well. One time, I'll share this with you. One time we're out there, we're doing off-leash training. Oh yeah, I want to get back to the water. I'll get back to that in just a second. We're doing some off-leash training, and he went way off-leash. He ran far down the beach, way faster than I could ever get down the beach. And I didn't have the bike with me. It was just me and him walking. He went way down the beach, and there was this couple with a child in a typical Spanish beach setup. They set up like a little fort, and Zeus went inside their fort, and the guy pushed my dog, and it made me really, really mad. But then again, my dog was out of control, and Zeus never bit anybody. He was just, if anything, he was over aggressive with his want and desire to kiss people. Now, someone like Dennis or someone like Robert, he wanted to do more to them than just kiss them. I don't know what pheromones my brother Robert or my friend Dennis exuded, but man, that made Zeus horny as you could. Every time he saw those two, he just wanted to get a piece of that action. He just wanted to be involved. So I want to talk about water. There's a lot of Ridgebacks that are raised around water and love water, but for the most part, they're notoriously not water dogs. They are not water dogs. And Zeus has a couple reasons for not being a water dog. Doing that off-leash training at Parque de Laguna there in Rota, Spain. It's an early morning. There's no one on the streets. It's just me and him, and we're walking back to the house. He's a really small puppy. This is his first interaction. So we're walking along, and again, there's no one there. So I decide, hey, you know what I'll do? I'll just let's do some off-leash trainings and work on it. And I let him off-leash. He was not ready for that. He was not prepared for that. He he, he saw a goose, and he went to chase the goose. And when he chased the goose, he found the black ground. Parca de Laguna is called the Parca de Laguna for a reason, because there's a laguna in it where all the geese and ducks and things hang out. So he went chasing that duck or goose or whatever it was, and he went to step on the black ground only to find out the black ground is water. It's nighttime water. And I just remember him. I just remember the look of shock he had on his face when he came back to me like, hey, man, did you know that was going to happen? His eyes, he was so expressive. His eyes said everything. And he was more stunned or more upset with me that I didn't warn him that running away from me, chasing an animal was going to end badly. And that was time number one. Time number two, now Mama has a job, and we tried to find him a babysitter because we didn't want him to be alone all day, because we don't, even though dogs love being alone and love sleeping and relaxing, but his mother decided he didn't need to be alone all day, so we found someone that would take care of him. And we went over to the house, and she's got a beautiful big old Spanish yard all fenced in, and she takes care of other puppies, and he's been well trained to hang out with other dogs and not be an issue. And he goes running, and he's playing. The dog that she had, maybe it was her dog, he's running after the dog, and they're playing. They're having a good time. Nothing aggressive. They're just playing, and they're having a great time. The dog ran around the bluegrass, but Zeus saw no need to go around the bluegrass. You could just go the fastest way between 2 points is a straight line. You just go over the bluegrass. And the bluegrass was their in-ground swimming pool. So this is time number two where he has experienced water, and time number two where he comes back to me like, dude, did you know the blue water does that? I mean, the bluegrass does that to you? It was such a fun look of expression on his face, of shock, awe, and wonderment. So clearly he hates water. He hates water. But we live on the beach in southern Spain. The third and final time Zeus finds himself in the water unintentionally. It's such a vivid memory for me, and it's such a fun memory for me. He's bigger now, and he's faster, and he's stronger, and he's well trained, and we're walking along on the beach, and we're having a good time, and I don't need to have the leash on him. I don't need to have a leash on him. He's a good boy. He knows if I call him, he comes. And I let him, explore his distances. I let him get out further in front of me and behind me and catch up to me. And when I need to, I say, come, and he comes. And we're right in front of the big white complex there on the beach. De la Luz. Something De la Luz. And we're there. It's got a walkway that's built all the way up to the beach's edge. And then there's the beach, and it's low tide. So we're Playa de la Luz. So we're walking, and we get down towards Playa de la Luz. And as the tide rescinded, there was a bunch of pools that still existed on the beach. And the sun was setting perfectly, and the mirror reflection off of these pools of water it was just gorgeous. It was just a gorgeous time. And we're walking along on Playa de la Luz, and he gets pretty far out in front of me, and I was like, hey, come. And he turns around and he starts running back towards me, but he's taking the long route. He wants to enjoy the run that he's doing on his own accord. So not coming directly back to me, he runs the long route, which takes him over by the mirror sand. He's running over towards the mirror sand, exactly, surprisingly deep. These pools of water that are left up on the beach as the tide rescinds are surprisingly deep pools of water. And he's running along and just having the best time of his life. And he goes to step on what you would imagine to be a mirror on the beach and just ass over elbows. Ass over elbows and then all the way into the water. It was a deep pool, probably about 3 feet of water. And for the third and final time, he came running back to me like, dude, did you not? Did you know that? It was just such a... I feel better when I talk about my memories with my dog. It's easy to just to wallow in the pain. It really is. And I'm I'm not a psychotherapist or a psychiatrist or a doctor of any kind. I have stayed in a couple of Holiday Inn Expresses over the years, I can tell you that. And I've dealt with pain and I've dealt with sorrow and I've delivered pain and I've delivered sorrow. But I can tell you, I have found the TK method. I have always found that the best way is to focus on the good. All of the good memories, all of the good things. If I go upstairs right now and I don't talk loudly to him, and no, even I find myself, if I don't focus on the good memories, I'm going to get sad. And I don't want to be sad. I want to be happy. This dog brought me the best 10 years of my life. And for anybody else who's been in my life for more than 10 years, please don't take that personal. But if you've been in my life for more than 10 years, I want you to compare yourself, if you will, for a moment, against this dog who loved me unconditionally. Do I need to remind you? Unconditionally. Even when there was water traps. Even when I was not a good dog dad and I might have overcorrected. Even when I yelled at him. And even when I didn't give him my food. And even when I didn't give him treats. He still loved me unconditionally. For all 10 years of his life that we shared together. And I love all of you. I do. If you're listening to this, I probably love you too. But if you haven't given me 10 years of unconditional love, absolutely forgiving of any mistake I may make, I don't know if I can have the same level of, you know what I mean? I just can't. But the point of what I'm saying is I feel really bad. I'm hurting, and it's okay to hurt. And I'm sad, and it's okay to be sad. But I'm also thankful. I'm thankful for those 10 years. And, when you have a big breed dog, first of all, a quick reminder, a dog is the only thing you will ever buy that is guaranteed to break your heart. Mark that down. It's not an untrue statement. It is the most true statement. And if you have a large breed dog, you have to know that your time with them is limited. If you get more than the average amount of time with that dog, you're blessed. And if you get less than the average amount of time with that dog, you're still blessed, but not as well as you would be. I would have loved for him to live. You ready for this? I thought he was going to outlive me. I really did. We'll talk about the end soon, but before we focus on his end, let's talk about my end. For those of you who are regular listeners of the show, I've had some health issues over the last couple of years. One of those health issues was misdiagnosed as mysterious back pain, and the only way I could find solace, the only way I could find relief from the pain was to get flat on the floor. Well, I'm not one that's normally flat on the floor. And anytime I got flat on the floor to relieve the pain that I was feeling, Zeus went into protection mode. And when I say protection mode, I mean he stood guard over me and put his gagoolies in my face. He did this every time. I know my dog loves me and wanted me to be safe, and he was there to protect me. But I always wished he would have done it without putting his balls in my face. But there was a little humor to that, and there was a laughter to that. And boy, this is going to be hard. I thought he would be around to help console my wife when I died, because I was battling death for about a 2-year period, and I was getting progressively worse, and she was worried about me, but he was concerned. He put balls on my face, basically. He teabagged me into recovery, and I've made it through that, and I'm glad he helped me through that, and I'm glad to be alive. Don't get me wrong, super glad to be alive. But I really thought he would have been there to console her when I no longer was. Let's move along on the timeline. I talked about the great times, and I didn't tell you about another time I think I got him hurt. Also, not a bad memory. It's just another memory of so many memories. I do not have any bad memories of this guy. When I say he was the bestest boy ever, I mean he was the bestest boy ever. We're in Puerto de Santa Maria. We're on a hash. We're out there actually just a little bit beyond Puerto Sherry, which is funny because me and Chick Brew were just talking about Puerto Sherry recently. But we're out there and we're in the middle of nowhere. And in the hash, when you run along and you see something, you say hash. And that lets the other people running with you know that you're on the trail. Another option is you bring with yourself a little rape whistle. Because, I mean, who doesn't need a little rape whistle in their life? You bring with yourself a little rape whistle, and anytime you come across a hash mark, you just yell. That's it. You do that. Well, my rape whistle I had been using to train Zeus for recall training. He would go out and he would do something. I would blow the whistle. He'd come running back to me, and I would reward him with treats and love. So when we go on the hash, and occasionally Daisy May was a Rhodesian Ridgeback that went on the hash with us, and Zeus was people would bring their kids, and people would bring their pets, and Zeus enjoyed the people in the hash. He really did. And they were some amazing people, some of my best friends. And Vicky, she offered to take Zeus with her. Can I take him with me? Sure. He's going to love it. He's going to love it. But the very first part of the trail winds us through a bunch of cactus. Yeah, Spain has cactus. And it winds us through this cactus, and I see a hash mark on the ground, and everyone else has yelled hash. And Zeus is running. No big deal. He's running. And I see the hash, but I've got my rape whistle with me, so I just blow on the rape whistle, which he knows that if he comes back to me, he gets a treat. So he rears up. He's pushing on Vicky. He's trying to get away from her. And when he did that, he took a cactus right in the buttocks. He got shot in the buttocks. He reared up. That, oh my God, painful sound of a dog in pain. That was him. Because he took about 5 cactus barbs right in the buttocks. And he came running back to me because that's what he was trained to do. And I saw what happened, and man, I am devastated. I'm so sad. I'm so angry at myself for doing that. And he comes running back to me, and the next thing I have to take those out of his buttocks. Like 5 of them. And each one of them I knew was worse than the previous one. Focus on the positive. Focus on the good. If you're feeling grief. If you're feeling grief, you can only be feeling grief because you felt pleasure. You know what I mean? You felt happy. Whatever you are sad about because it's not what the thing was that made you happy. My dog made me happy, and my dog's not here, so I'm experiencing profound sorrow and pain known as grief. But if I focus on the good, it makes it better. And all of those times I spent with him were all good, with the exception of a couple of things I might have pointed out. He bit me. He dragged me off of a plank in the sky, and then I got some cactus thorns in his butt. The hardest part for me now is to talk to you about. I kind of already did, so I don't know if it's going to be hard. I kind of already talked to you about the end. My father passed away on April the 10th. On April the 10th, I knew. I had a strong feeling for a variety of reasons, like he wouldn't eat anything. I was digging deep into the reserves, man. I was pulling out fresh meat from the refrigerator. I was doing anything I could to get him to eat, and he wouldn't eat. And he wouldn't move around a lot, and he was throwing up, and he was just being, he was just going through it. So all I could do was comfort him. I tried to get him to eat, and he wouldn't eat, and I tried to get him to move, and he wouldn't move, and I just spent time comforting him. I laid on the floor with him, and I gave him the best belly rubs and the best rubs I could give him. I gave him all the rubs, and I reassured him time and time again that he was just the bestest boy, and I loved him so much, and he was just so amazing, and I shared years of memories with him that we had shared together, and I begged him, for selfish reasons, I guess. But I begged him not to die, especially not on April the 10th. And he didn't. He held on until the early morning hours of April the 11th. And how did that go down? I gave him all the love I could give him. I did. But I was exhausted, and I was tired of crying, and I was upset. And There are a lot of silences that have been removed from this section. Because I could say a couple of words and then I have to recover. So this may seem choppy to you. Having had a moment or two to breathe, let me remind you. All right, I gave him all the love I could give him. It was nonstop. I was lying on the floor with him. I was rubbing him to the point where my hand was becoming. If you just rub a Ridgeback's fur long enough, eventually you're going to get abrasions. And I'm getting the abrasions because I'm loving on him, and I'm talking to him exactly the way I've always talked to him from the moment I had him. There's no doubt in my mind that dog didn't understand me because I am the only language. Well, that's not true. We also spoke Spanish, but it was me, and I was talking to Zeus, and we did that for hours. Then his mom comes home and takes him downstairs. I I wasn't there for this part, so I don't know the order in which things happened. But basically, she ends up outside with him because he signaled to her that he needed to go down, and he didn't make it all the way down. He had an accident before he got outside, and then he goes outside, and I'm upstairs, and she comes upstairs, and she's obviously distraught because he's in the grass and he's just laying in the grass and he won't get up and he won't come inside. She's crying, and she says that he won't get up. He won't get up, Tone. He won't get up. So I go downstairs and I go over to him, and I just talk to him in the calmest tone I can, and I tell him, "Come on, buddy, you got to. You got to come inside. I love you so much. You just got to come inside. Come on, buddy, you can do it. You can come inside." And he does. He gets up and he comes inside, and she's happy that he came inside, and she can be a little overbearing. She's just over-loving. I'm not going to say overbearing anymore when I talk about my wife. Even though it is overbearing, we're just going to call it over-loving. Okay, so she was over-loving him, and he just didn't want to deal with it. Just like, yeah, I love you too, Ma. Whatever, you know? So she's trying to give him love, and he doesn't want to do anything, and he walks up and he goes into the storage area outside of the studio, and he lays there, and why is he over there? Why is he over there? Tell me. She's just over loving. She's over loving, and eventually he gets up and he goes to that donut that I told you about earlier in the thunder room, the quietest place in the house, most comfortable place in the house in the event of a thunderstorm. And he goes there. Then I bring the pillow out here, and he comes out with the pillow, and then we lay there, and I spent all the time I could loving up on him again, reassuring him that he was loved. And as I look back on that, I'm so not glad. But if he had to go, it had to be here. It had to be here with us. I just can't imagine those people or the pain you must feel when you have to take your dog to a vet. And then you go in with your dog, and then they inject the dog, and then the dog's tongue falls out of its mouth. I've seen it. I just can't imagine doing that. So there were a lot of tears shed, and there was a lot of love given. But come 2:30 in the morning, I can't any longer. I can't lay on the floor anymore. I'm kind of sore from laying on the floor. So I said, I'm going to go to. Here's another detail. At about 2:30 in the morning, when I'm giving him all the love that I can give him, and he's giving me all the love that he can give me, he looks up at me with those big, beautiful eyes, and the light that had always been in them wasn't there. At that moment, I knew the light wasn't there anymore. And the totality of that moment, I couldn't be there any longer. So I said, I have to go to bed. I've been doing this for hours. I can't do this any longer. I have to go to bed. And I did. I went to bed, and she stayed down here with him. And in the morning, as I came down the stairs, she said to me the exact same words my brother said to me. Take two. She said to me the exact same words my brother said to me 10 years and 1 day earlier. He's gone, and I lost it. And I've been losing it ever since, because I see him everywhere. Everywhere I go, Zeus, he wants to know. Everywhere I go, he's there. Everywhere I have been, he has been there. Whether it's my job, whether it's my car, whether it's any place in this house, he is there with me. And the fact he is there with me in memory, but the fact that he is not there with me physically, it hurts me and it stirs me up and I get upset. And then I have to focus on the positive. I have to force the good memories out. And some of the good memories are silly and stupid, and you might not get it. But every day when I left this house, I would tell my boy, "You're a good boy. You're the best boy. You're in charge. You're the man of the house. No parties, no bitches." I said that to him every day. Be a good boy. You're the best boy. You're the man of the house. You're in charge. No parties, no bitches. I continue to say that to him every day. And I will continue to say that every day to an empty house. Because if his soul is here, he needs to hear it. And if his soul is here and he has the ability to have bitches here, then by all means, you're authorized. My friend Pete Cady said the best way to get over the loss of a dog is to get another dog. And my friends that I have talked to have all kind of said the same thing. I ask, how did you get over it? And they say, I got another dog. How long did it take you? Some people it's a couple of weeks, some people it's a couple of years, but they got another dog and they filled that gap. I told my wife, I said, I'm going to get another dog. It's going to be a Rhodesian Ridgeback. It's going to be a male, and I'm going to call him Zeus. He doesn't need to know he's Zeus version 2.0. But we've got all this stuff meant for a Zeus. We would reuse all of this stuff. And then at another point in the conversation, I said, when I get below 200 pounds, I'm getting another dog. And my wife, as over-loving as she can be, said, and how much do you weigh now? To give her an idea of how much time she had, I'm imagining. I don't know. I'm getting up there in age, and unfortunately, so is she. I mean, fortunately, we're both lucky enough to be living as long as we've lived. And I don't know if another dog is in our future. But what I do know is I will never forget this dog. And if there is a God in heaven, there's no way we can have separate heavens for animals. And his spirit and my spirit coming together again somewhere in the distant future will put my spirit at rest. For any of you that have sat through this, bless your heart. I'm sorry, I know it was rough. And I promise you, I will try to just be the best me I can be. And I'll try to put all the energy I can back into the show. But I think you can all understand I just needed a little time. And if no one ever listens to this show, it's okay. Because it was good for me. I needed to get this out. I wanted to get this out. And I thought, and I think, that it's cathartic for me. And it may be useful to someone else going through it. So I'm going to wrap it up here. I'm going to remind you today, as I remind you every day, just be the best person that you can be. I'm going to tell you that Chick Brew sends her love. And somewhere out there, there's an angel. Named Zeus. Lunsby, everybody. Hey, look at me, look at me. It's all better now. If you think that was hard to shoot, if you think that was hard to tape, it was equally as hard to edit. But I don't want to end on that sadness. It's been a couple weeks. I'm getting better every day. And thanks for listening to the episode. I hope you got something out of it, if nothing else. And a new episode will be out soon. So I say this more heartily, more upbeat. Life goes on, even though it's sad. So, Lunsby, see you soon.